is it going to surprise me to see him get to Stetson or JT? Dare I say? No, I'm just kidding.
Welcome to My Gotta Podcast. I'm Jim Wood. In this episode, John Powell and I preview Georgia's college football playoff semifinal against Michigan in the Orange Bowl. And we answer questions from you, our listeners. As always, remember to check out store.mygottapodcast.com to see our latest merch. And you can follow us on social media at MyGottaPodcast. Finally, if you like what you hear, please subscribe, rate, 5 stars obviously, and review the show. If you leave us a review, you just might hear it on an upcoming episode. Now, let's join the conversation in progress. So, hope you and the family had a Merry Christmas, first of all.
Yeah, man. Hope you guys had a good Christmas too. Looked like the Wood household had a good Christmas.
We did. We had Fripp Dog and Panda were in the house. Although they were here for a couple days before. They headed back home to Georgia on Christmas Eve. But it was a good time.
Okay, excellent. Did you guys get to partake in your traditions?
We did, and it's funny because actually, one of our traditions that I somehow forgot to mention, Kim makes Kim like we talked about like treats and everything, right? And so Kim makes we call it Captain Christmas.
Captain Christmas.
So it's peanut butter Captain Crunch is the main ingredient. So that's where the Captain comes from. And then it's Rice Krispies, there's peanuts, there's marshmallows, and it's like all coated in chocolate. It's very amazing, and she makes like multiple batches throughout.
Can we get a pronunciation on Cap'n or Captain?
It's just
Captain?
Well, that is a good point. That is a good point. We say Captain, so we may not be doing it completely correctly. But that's actually like what we leave out for as far as for cookies for Santa. That's what we leave out. We leave out Captain Christmas. So we did that, and then other just various desserts. So Kim made a apple pie on Christmas Day. My mom made her famous coconut cake that we had while they were here, and then I did a smoked prime rib for our dinner with my parents, and it was excellent.
That looked amazing, Jim. I'm not gonna lie, beat the heck out of my ham.
It was really good. Well, we did a ham, so we did a ham in our oven for Christmas Day. So we had 2 big meals. So we did the prime rib with my parents, and then a ham on actual Christmas Day. So it was good. It was good.
Excellent. Yeah, we did not have it was very much a unexpected Christmas for us because we had some sickness in the household. We have COVID going on here too, so some plans were ruined and other plans were able to go forward. But I don't know. We just had some COVID in the house, so some of the traditions, like I mentioned, the cookie decorating, which we were gonna do Christmas Eve, but then decided not to because of COVID situation, and then we were supposed to do it today, and then it hasn't worked out. So
in the protocols,
the Powell household is in the protocol. However, we did get the go ahead today that we could get in the 5-day window. So
there you go. Right. Thank you, CDC.
Yeah, seriously. It's like, suddenly everything's okay. I have a feeling we're going to see a spike in cases. I'm just saying.
Right.
But we had a good Christmas. Christmas Eve, we decided not to go to church and stuff because of the COVID situation. And then so we were going to do our Christmas dinner Christmas Day, but since we weren't going to be able to do anything, we decided to go ahead and knock it out Christmas Eve with my dad there. Right. My dad happened to already be there. But anyway, so we ended up doing Christmas Eve dinner with big fancy dinner. And then Christmas Day, we actually did what we normally do on Christmas Eve, which is we did Waffle House. So I had Waffle House delivered or whatever. So
nice.
So we did Waffle House.
That's
for Christmas dinner. That was our Christmas dinner.
I say that's very that's very a Christmas story of you. I feel.
I tried to do a Christmas story. I was like, hey guys, let's get Chinese. Let's do Chinese takeout. But nobody. My daughter, my oldest loves Chinese, so she and I were on the same page. She's like, yeah, let's do it.
Right.
Nobody else likes Chinese.
No worries. No worries.
It
Well,
was good though. It was good. We had a good Christmas overall. Everybody had fun. I think that the my youngest kids were the super bummed because they couldn't go out and like
right,
partake with their friends and stuff. So
right, right, right. Well, not what you had hoped for, but sounds good overall.
nope, nope. Everything's okay. Everybody's somewhat on the mend. Some of the younger ones are starting to show signs, so we'll see. I have a feeling that my plans for the bowl game are kind of in limbo at this point too. So
Okay,
we'll probably be just hanging out at the house by ourselves, but
right.
that's probably what we're going to end up doing.
Yeah. Well, and it's coming up. It's coming up on upon us. Coming. Oh, the dogs just entered my office. It's coming up upon us fairly quickly. Um, like we
It's
talked
game week.
about. Yeah, like when it got announced, right? I mean, it is a little weird with the game being on a Friday. So we're doing our usual normal recording time of Monday, but the game will get here a day earlier. So um,
It's business as usual.
that's right.
Business as usual. It's just another game, Jim.
That's
Take
right.
it one
That's right.
game
We're
at a
not
time.
changing anything after anything. You got to keep chopping. Keep chopping. So let's hit the usual stuff then. So we've got 7:30 p.m. Friday night on New Year's Eve. Game on ESPN. The official hashtag is hashtag Capital One Orange Bowl. It's that is the hashtag. There's not the Georgia, Michigan, or anything like that. I did look. So we are playing in Miami, right? So clear skies, high of 82 and a low of 68 for the day. So going to be nice weather. Michigan comes into the game. You're sporting a 12-1 record. Big Ten champs, 8-1 in the conference during the regular season. Then obviously the Big Ten title game as well. So all time, I know we've already talked about this, I think a little bit last time, but this is only the third time we've ever played Michigan. We are 1-1 against them. Both of the previous matchups were in Ann Arbor, so at Michigan. Do you know who the two coaches were that coached against Michigan?
They coached against Michigan.
So who were the two different Georgia coaches coached in
I
this
know
game?
Dooley was the 65.
Correct. Yeah.
Was it? What was the year we played Michigan?
1957. Yeah, we actually lost 26-0 in that first matchup.
26-0. Yeah. I'm Butts. Is it Butts?
Yeah,
Molly
it
Butts?
is Butts. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's Butts. So it's funny too because we got a question earlier in this. We had a listener question earlier in the year around who would be like a non-conference matchup that you would love to see Georgia schedule a home and home with, and I know Michigan is one of the ones that we talked about.
Michigan is one for sure.
Definitely a matchup that I'm excited about from that end. It's so weird, like how many bowl games that we've played in with these Big Ten tie-ins. Like the Outback Bowl, the other Capital One Bowl, like the Citrus Bowl, or it's had a few names over the years, but we played in so many of those games, and it seems like it's always been like Wisconsin or Purdue. It's weird that it's never lined up that we've had a bowl game with these guys. So
we played Nebraska as well.
That's right. We had Nebraska. So it's, I don't know, it's kind of weird, right? That we've never played these guys in either of our lifetimes. So pretty cool matchup. And then it's also, as far as bowl games go, this is only the third Orange Bowl that Georgia, this is the fourth Orange Bowl that Georgia has ever played in. So we've only played in the Orange Bowl 3 other times. And those 3 Orange Bowls were all coached by the same coach. Care to guess?
I mean, I'm going to go on a limb and just say Dooley.
No, they're actually all Wally Butts. So we played it in the 42 Orange Bowl. We beat TCU. We played in the 49 Orange Bowl, a loss to Texas. And then in 1960, we beat Missouri 14-0. So that was a shutout. And also those Orange Bowls, like most Orange Bowls, were all played on New Year's Day. So this will be the first Orange Bowl we've ever played in on New Year's Eve. So those were my kind of little matchup and game note tidbits that I had jotted down.
Okay. Good stuff.
Yeah. And then I didn't have a whole lot on the news and notes because, Kirby's press conference that he had, my understanding is he was basically just talking to like kind of the local like Orange Bowl people. I don't think the beat writers got a chance to sit down with Kirby like this week at the Orange Bowl as of yet. I know they did, I think, with like Lanning and some others. So the main thing I had jotted down was actually from the time that Chris Smith had. So he talked through a little bit and said that he's doing everything he can to get back healthy as possible for the Orange Bowl. And someone like specifically asked him like kind of like what percentage he's feeling. And apparently he kind of dodged the question on like what percent his knee is at. So that's going to be a big one to watch. I think that really hurt us, in the SEC championship game, him not being full speed. So I hope that he is good to go. And, without having the normal Kirby press conference, we don't know if he's hopeful or not. We don't have any of those sound bites, or I didn't see any. So
yeah, no, I mean,
a little different.
I think the biggest news has been the stuff that's gone on off the field, right? You've got like all these testing protocols and things like that are kind of in limbo, like who's traveling, who's not traveling, like why isn't XYZ player here? We saw some of that this afternoon, as recently as a couple of hours ago. Yep. Pickens and Daniels weren't even on the ground.
Right. But they are now. So they have arrived.
But they are now. They have arrived. And it begs the question, like, what's going on? So I think that's, in my opinion, that's got to be like, why all the trouble to rush people down and all that kind of stuff? Like, what happened? What's going on?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Because that was
on my mind.
Right. And I'm trying to think back the timeline. So I think it was about like Tuesday, I think last week was the day, I believe, that was when we heard that JT had tested positive for COVID. And so, we're a week into that, or a weekend since we found out about it. Who knows when he tested? But if he's down there, I would assume, he's cleared, and I guess would have tested negative or whatever they have to do to get through to this point. And it sounds like with Pickens, it was basically a false positive, right? So I think he tested positive, but then had like multiple negative tests. None of this is from the school. This is all what we've heard.
Speculation.
Yeah. So nothing official, but that sounds to kind of be what the deal is. Yeah, and I think your point is kind of like, why go through all this trouble, charter plane for JT, without him playing. Although I would say, like,
I guess he's there for an emergency.
Yeah, I mean, like, he is the backup quarterback, right? I mean, like, if something happens, you don't want to be stuck with no JT Daniels, right? I mean,
right.
That's kind of my take on it. So, okay. Go ahead. Were you going to say something?
No. I was going to do some conspiracy theory, but I'm not.
I love conspiracy theories.
So my conspiracy theory is that I think that the university knew that something was going to be changing with the protocols. Like, people in the SEC, I feel like, had to have recognized that there was going to be an update on the protocols nationally, like that this was going to be happening today. Yeah. It's not ironic that today was the day that they all traveled, and also today is the day that they changed the CDC protocols to 5 days as opposed to 10 days. Right. So I'm wondering, and this is why I postulated in our text thread was, has he been practicing? Like, has he been practicing at all this week? Like, while he's in the quote unquote protocol, like, what do they do? Like, what has he been doing for the last, like, whatever time period since he tested positive? Has he been practicing? Has he not been practicing? Has Pickens been practicing? So,
I think now, for some of it, for part of that time, though, they were on the whole team broke for Christmas for like, I don't know how long, right? What, like a day or two or whatever. So no one was practicing at that point. Yeah.
That's what I'm wondering. Like, how many practices has he actually missed? I know they had to
Yeah.
have missed today's practice, which
Right.
apparently was a barn burner
Yes. Yes.
from all the reporting that the reporters were not allowed to be, which is a whole other
Oh,
story in
oh
and
my
of
gosh.
itself.
Yes.
Off the
Yes.
field antics by some reporters.
Oh my gosh.
Um, but then, so yeah. So that's my speculation is that they were holding back their players that were quote unquote tested positive until they could safely move them without any political
Mm,
fallout.
right. Right. Fair enough. Yeah. Definitely possible. Um, the only thing I saw, I saw kind of like a bulletin board material, if you will, coming out of some of the Michigan media availability, and so I dug in a little bit to see exactly. And so I don't think it was quite what was reported. So with Aiden Hutchinson, their stud defensive end, it came out that he said
Yes,
nothing is going to stop me. So I don't know if you saw that. So I was like,
yes,
so I was kind of curious, like, what was he asked? Like, what prompted him to say that? And it sounds like they were basically they were saying something to the effect of like, or the question was framed like, you're not in the Midwest anymore, you're in Miami, very different weather. It's not going to be snowing, like it's going to be humid and all this stuff. And it was in response to that he said, nothing's going to stop me. So I don't know. I feel like it's maybe blown out a little bit, but I love the potential yummy rat poison that it could provide uh, to our team. So I'm sure the coaches will use it, but in his defense, I don't think it was exactly kind of what it was made out to be the way I read it. But um, it was interesting. It definitely raised my eyebrows when I read it.
yeah. I think that it's one of those things that Kirby's definitely going to take it and just put it up on the bulletin board and
Yeah.
and the team facilities.
Yep.
Much like that, much like I think that there's been some poor mouthing on the Alabama team because that was another thing that I saw was
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
Anderson saying that the team was been disrespected all year long. That was just one
Right.
of those like, oh
Right.
my gosh, dude, are you kidding me right now?
Right. Yeah. A little ridiculous. A
uh,
little ridiculous. Whatever you need to motivate you, I guess.
Yeah, it's like that Michael Jordan effect. You just find that edge and
Mm-hmm.
just like any reason, anything at all that can get you fired up to the point of like just I want to run through a brick wall. Like whatever it takes, man. I want to run
Right.
through these guys like I want to run through these guys. I want to see like a 2007 Hawaii Sugar Bowl like we are angry and that we've been slighted or that people have forgotten about us. Like I want to
Yeah.
see I want to see people play pissed off and violent.
Yeah, for sure. And just like with Jordan, at least on the Alabama side, like even if you have to make up things that aren't real, you use it to motivate you. Just like Jordan did, apparently.
Exactly.
Uh,
Exactly.
all right, let's jump into the game. What do you want to? I don't know, I guess we usually go our offense first, like when we have the ball. You want to start there?
Yeah, you can go ahead and kick us off there, Jim.
Okay, so a couple of things that stood out to me. So this was interesting. I actually I was listening to Dog Sports Live. It was it was just Graham on this. Well, Graham had a guest, so he had the guy from Go Blog to kind of get the Michigan perspective, and he pointed out something that I had I did not realize this. So Michigan's defensive coordinator, his name is Mike McDonald. He's there. This is year one for him as their defensive coordinator. He went to Centennial High School in Roswell, Georgia, which was like 2 miles from the house I grew up in. He graduated from the University of Georgia. He didn't play football at Georgia, but he went to Georgia. After he graduated, he was a grad assistant at Georgia for Coach Richt. So, a grad assistant in 2010 at Georgia. He was an analyst under Richt, a defensive analyst from 2011 to 2013. And then he left and went to the NFL in 2014. So he's been with the Baltimore Ravens, had been with the Ravens in various roles since 2014. And so the connection there, John Harbaugh is the head coach of the Ravens. He recommended this guy to his brother, Jim Harbaugh. And so now he's the defensive coordinator. So this is year one for him. So little Georgia connection that I did not realize that until I heard that from there.
So Michigan's defensive coordinator was an analyst under Richt. Is that
Exactly.
how?
Yeah, that's how he got his start. Yeah.
Interesting.
And apparently, I think he was a high school coach like while he was attending Georgia at like Cedar Shoals or something like that. So I guess that was technically his first thing. But then, as far as college goes, yeah, he was a grad assistant, and then analyst for Rick.
Interesting. What isn't that Michigan's offensive coordinator also connected with Alabama too? Not to pivot, but like since we're talking about connections.
Yep. Yeah. So Josh Gaddis is their offense coordinator, and yeah, he was. I don't know what role he was in. I don't remember, but he was on the Michigan staff. Or sorry, he was on the Bama staff in I think 2018 at least. So.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so again, their defense, it's been pretty stout. So their pass defense ranks fifth nationally in yards allowed per attempt. They run a pretty like varied defense. So like when I don't know about you, like, but for me, like in the highlights I watched, I mean, they look pretty multiple. Like you'll see multiple, various defensive fronts. I saw a lot that actually looked kind of like a 4-3. I think they do technically, I guess you would say, is a base 3-4, kind of like Georgia is, but they gave a lot of 4-3 looks and they mix it up a lot. And so I think that apparently that was one of the big changes from last year to this year. And then really, obviously, the big thing to watch out for is their two ends. So Aiden Hutchinson is the name that definitely everyone knows. He was a Heisman finalist, right? But they've got another guy, David Ojabo, who has pretty dang good stats as well. So if you look at the Big Ten statistical leaders, Aiden Hutchinson was first in the Big Ten in sacks with 14 sacks, and Ojabo was second with 11 sacks. So a pretty dynamic duo there for as far as pass rush goes. But like they're built, I would say, almost like, I know we've been kind of texting and talking about this week, like, and I've said that I feel like they're a lot like us, right? And so kind of what I saw is, if I say I'm a Michigan fan, like what I'm worried about is kind of what Georgia was worried about at the beginning of the year, right? So like you feel really good about the front, but what about the secondary? And so, again, like for them, just like we've said before for Georgia, like that, the pass rush can be a big equalizer there if you're not as good on the back end. So slowing that pass rush down is going to be key for us. And so, to me, I'm thinking a couple of things to do there. One is obviously, I think it's going to be a big game for Darnell in the blocking category. Putting him, having him help out a tackle on either one of those guys. And then, I mean, I'd like to see us be able to run. I mean, Michigan State ran all over these guys. So I'd like to see us run the ball, and I'd like to see us if we can just take what the defense gives you, do what works, and keep doing what's working. And if we fall behind, stay the course, right? Like that was the thing. We kind of wondered all year what would happen if Georgia got behind, and I didn't like what I saw as far as like the way the play calling changed when we did get behind to Alabama. So if these guys get ahead on us, just stay the course. No need to panic, right? And work more on trying to kind of more like stay on schedule and not so much like play catch up kind of deal. So I don't know. That's what I saw specifically from their defense. And then, we need to play Georgia football, play to our strengths. We don't, we don't want to get into the Stetson throwing the ball 40 times, right? We need to do the, ball control and let our running backs do their thing, and heavy dose of Brock Bowers. And man, I would love to see Pickens playing a good bit in this game.
It would be nice. It would be nice to see Pickens for sure, particularly if he can have an impact on the game like he did against Baylor. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so from a defensive standpoint, like those are obviously things that stood out. You know, they have the two sack machines. I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that he had as many sacks. The other guy that he had
Yeah.
11 sacks. I'm going to butcher his last name. How do you say it?
I believe it's Ojabo. I think
Ojabo.
that's,
Okay.
yeah, I'm doing my best. I don't have a Scott Howard, pronunciation for him, but I believe that is correct.
Well, then you got the Aiden Hutchinson. And it seemed like that they had like six of Aiden Hutchinson's sacks have come against two different teams. He had 3 sacks against Ohio State, and he had 3 sacks against Penn State. Everything else, it's like onesie twosies here or there. Like basically, he's good for a guaranteed sack in the game. So like, is it going to surprise me to see him get to Stetson or JT? Dare I say? No, that's just kidding. That's just a trigger. That's just a trigger, everyone. It wouldn't surprise me to see him get to our quarterback at least once.
Yeah.
The hope there is that you contain him to simply being, a fairly non-factor or at least a minimal factor. The other thing that they have going for them there, aside from the game, the game sacks there, Michigan actually has a +5 turnover margin, and you and I were talking about this before before we were recording, but like that's actually very, very interesting, because when I was looking at the game film on these guys, I felt like that they had been benefactors of some timely turnovers in some of these big games against Ohio State, against Iowa. It just seemed like that they were, very Alabama-esque in how they were able to gobble up, interceptions or have a deflected pass that just happens to fall into their guys' hands, pick up a fumble here or there. I don't know. It just seemed like that they have gotten pretty lucky in the turnover department, and I'm really hoping that turnovers are a non-factor for our offense versus them. Again, I mean, I think that you wipe out some of those Stetson interceptions, and I think that the game's a little bit different versus Alabama. If we see multiple interceptions from Stetson against these guys, they're probably going to make us pay. So much like what we've talked about the entire season, was that we can't turn the ball over. Like because if we get ourselves into a situation where we're playing catch up, or where we're playing behind the 8 ball, where we should be putting these guys away and letting them stay around, because our defense can play lights out. Let's say the defense plays lights out, but we're turning the ball over and it's suddenly 0-0 in the third quarter or whatever. Like, and we have a Clemson game on our hands. We can't turn the ball over. We have to protect the football. We have to protect it. And the way that you do that is how you attack things on the offense. And I know we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, and I definitely want to see, man, I would really like to see Stetson get back to, if the play starts to break down a bit, just take off, right? Because he's been successful with that all season. So I would love to see him get back to that. Like 5 yards is really good, right? Like if you can get 5 or 8 yards on a scramble, take it. I think he could do some damage there, especially if these guys are getting upfield on him, right? He can step up in the pocket, and then if there's nothing there, take off. I think that's going to be, or could be, a big factor here.
Yeah, talking about their defense, I think that our tight end, you mentioned Darnell Washington as a factor in the blocking game, which I don't disagree with that. I mean, we're going to have protection. You're probably going to have to double team Hutchinson a good bit throughout the game, but there are going to be opportunities where he's going to be in one-on-one situations, and sure. I'm hoping that we can scheme away from that to get Bowers. I have a feeling that Bowers is going to have a pretty big game, which I know is not like earth-shattering at this point, but like
right.
But in the game film that I watched, it looked like that Ohio State's tight ends and Iowa's tight ends were able to get downfield, because the one thing that Hutchinson has against him is if he gets drawn into coverage, which isn't very often, honestly, but like he's not very good in coverage.
Mm.
He is not a UGA linebacker caliber guy there.
Right.
He's not a Channing Tindall. He's not very good in coverage. So I think that if we can get our tight ends involved, get them in matchups that favor us, I just think that he's gonna have a good opportunity to get some plays, because some of the big long gains that I saw against Ohio State and Iowa were to the tight end over the middle. So that bodes well for us.
Yeah.
I did see some long gains on the outside, outside the numbers, which, Stetson has been pretty good on those. The one thing that, I do think that it's ultimately going to come down to the lines on both of these games, or both of these sides of the game.
Yeah.
Can our offensive line push their defensive line around, and can our defensive line push the best offensive line in the country around, which that's actually like a pretty big factor in this game as well, is that their offensive line is so good.
Yeah, for sure. We can pivot to that if you want. Yeah, so there, or I guess like here's the kind of the transition moment for me, right? Is like, what we had been worried about, or the unknown with Georgia's offense all year was, can the offense keep up in a game like in a track meet, right? Same question that's been there for years. And they weren't able to do it against Alabama. But the difference there is, again, like if you factor into the way Michigan plays offense, I would say is much more similar to how we play offense than, say, Alabama or an Ohio State, right? I mean, I think Ohio State is more similar to Bama there, like with the, all out, throwing the ball, multiple wide receivers, all this stuff. Michigan is very much we're going to run the ball, right? So, and I will say, actually, like when I watched them, it definitely it felt like you were watching Georgia. And I would even go to say it, but it felt more like the Jim Chaney Georgia offense is kind of what I felt like I was watching, as far as the plays that they run, what they're doing. They're not marching out these two unbelievable stud receivers, right? I mean, they're running the ball. Now they can run the ball very well. So Hassan Haskins, their tailback, second leading rusher in the Big Ten. He had over 1,200 yards rushing. Their backup, I'm blanking on his name, but they've got another guy that has I think 900 yards rushing.
Corum.
Yeah, Corum. Yeah. So they like to run the ball, and like you said, so their offensive line won the Joe Moore Award, which is the award for the best offensive line, and then their offensive coordinator, we already talked about that. He won the Broyles Award as the nation's top assistant, which Lanning was a finalist for as well. So I don't know. Here's the thing. The thing that is so interesting to me is I feel like all the talk is, Stetson Bennett, the whole Kirby can't pick a quarterback, all that kind of stuff. Stetson's numbers, though, stack up with McNamara. I mean, he's thrown for a little bit less yards, but on way fewer attempts than McNamara. And he's also, he's, I think, thrown 2 or 3 more picks. So McNamara has 15 touchdowns and 4 picks. Stetson's thrown 24 touchdowns and seven picks. And almost 100 fewer attempts, I think. So McNamara has 308 attempts. Stetson has only 231 attempts. So, I mean, if we talk about in modern college football, right? You have to have this dynamic, quarterback. You have to have, this guy. They don't have that either, right? I think he is very much seems to be a bit of a game manager, right? Somewhere between Stetson Bennett and Jake Fromm, maybe, is kind of how I see him. The other thing, though, is they do run. They seem to run a bit of a more true 2-quarterback system. So they do have this younger kid, McCarthy, that does come in and does play. So I would expect we'll see him. I think he usually gets a package. So he comes in and does some stuff. He's only, he's 27 of 42 on the year. 385 yards, 4 touchdowns, and 2 picks. So I don't know, we'll see him a lot, but I definitely expect to see him. And the other thing that I know we've been texting about is like, watch out for the trick plays. I think from the highlights that I watched, I saw a flea flicker in every game that I watched highlights of. And then I saw some other funky stuff. I think they ran a double pass in the Big Ten championship game. So defense needs to be disciplined and watch out for that.
They did. I think it was Edwards. I think it was Edwards that threw the touchdown pass. Donovan Edwards, who's like their number 3 running back or whatever.
Okay.
I'm not sure if he was like a quarterback in high school or whatever, but yeah. So here's the thing that I would say about their offense. Like, yes, the numbers match up fairly. The numbers are there. I mean, but we know that if Stetson were throwing it as many times as he was, it probably would be even worse for Stetson. Their offense is going to live and die with the running game. So if we can stop the run, I do think that they're going to have trouble moving the ball because it's naturally what they want to do. They do a lot of misdirection. That's one thing that I did notice was that in the running game, their wide receivers actually touch the ball a pretty decent amount from what I saw in some of the in some of the film. Was that, it wouldn't shock me to see an end around to an AJ Henning, who is one of their fast, one of their fast wide receivers. And fast is actually something that I would use to describe a good bit of their team. So they've got multiple receivers. I mean, they've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. They have 10 different receivers, including the running backs, that have at least 16 catches on the season. So
again, it's like us. The similarities are pretty. I don't know. It's pretty interesting to me.
Their leading receiver is an actual receiver as opposed to the tight end, though. I will say that.
True.
Yeah, I mean that's one of the big things that I saw was that there's just a lot of speed all over the field. So that AJ Henning guy is so fast. Like, it seems like that they want to get him in space. But you got Cornelius Johnson, Roman Wilson. These are guys that are their leading quote unquote receivers. Those guys were pretty fast as well. There's just speed all over, which kind of scares me a little bit on the secondary side of things, particularly if they were talking about running a lot of trick plays, a lot of end arounds and flea flickers and things like that, which, like you said, it seems like there's a flea flicker in every major game that they play. I'm pretty sure there was one in all of the games that you and I looked at, the Michigan State, the Ohio State, the Iowa game. There was a flea flicker in every single one of those games. There was also an end around in every single one of those games. They seem to want to run out of the pistol formation, which, is not going to be, a new concept for us. But that's definitely something to keep an eye on because they're going to be running some of these quarterback, read options and things like that with the running back closer to the line of scrimmage, which is always something that I thought was really strange. When you're trying to run out of the shotgun, and it's like he's got to run 5 yards to break even, basically. So you did notice that they would run their running back out of the pistol formation, and it would be like for big gains. Like, that was some of the highlights, was that pistol formation. I do think that they have the way that they run their end arounds. I'm hoping that our defensive coordinators, and it seemed like that Michigan did a pretty good job with this, even though they got blown up once, but like they definitely did a much better job, obviously because they beat them. They did a much better job containing the Michigan offense than anybody did. And I'm hoping that Mel Tucker and Kirby Smart have been swapping notes because, it would be great to have some inside sources because Mel Tucker is the first Michigan State coach to beat Michigan the first 2 times. He obviously has figured something out with how they run and how they function. So I'm hoping that there was a little bit of consultative efforts
I,
there. But
I would imagine there is. I'm sure they talk. The
I
question
mean,
is Tom Crean giving Kirby any info? Because, the Harbaugh brothers are his brothers-in-law.
maybe so. Maybe so. I don't know. I don't know that I would trust anything coming out of that guy.
Sorry to do. We don't need to talk about Georgia basketball. Whew. Okay.
Way to kill it. But yeah, I mean, they've got the Corum, Henning, Haskins. Those are guys to watch. They've got a three-headed monster, which he said, kind of matches up pretty nicely with us.
Yeah.
They've got that Donovan Edwards guy out of the backfield as well, which is kind of like a change up, I guess, if you will. The other thing that I thought was interesting was that it looks like that based on the number of attempts, Cade McNamara and JJ McCarthy at least have a couple of designed runs per game based on the number of attempts that they had. And these are actual rushing attempts. So, there were a couple of times when I saw, and this is what scares me about, from our defensive side, is can we not lose contain? Because I saw McCarthy and I saw McNamara gash teams that basically lost contain and allowed the quarterback to get either up in the pocket and break loose or outside the pocket and break loose for large substantial gains. And that's the kind of stuff we saw against Alabama, where we would lose contain against Bryce Young.
Yeah.
And he would punish us. He punished us that way. So I'm hoping that we have a different approach. It looked like that when Michigan State was when they were on defense, it looked like that they were bringing at least 4 rushers every single time.
Mm-hmm.
So I do think that this is ultimately going to come down to pressure, and if we're able to get pressure on the quarterback and stop their run. So if we can line up, get some push on the defensive front, get upfield, stop the run, and get pressure to the quarterback, then you like our chances to win for sure.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of one of those, like, I'd like to get back to basics a bit on defense. Like we heard all year about that's what we were doing and how the defense had been simplified, and we were letting the players play and they don't have to think as much and all this kind of stuff. And then, I think at this point we've seen Lewis Cine has come out and basically said, like, yeah, we were running stuff against Bama that we didn't run all year. So let's get back to doing what works, and what has worked all year. And again, like, their strength, Michigan's strength, is running the ball, and our strength is stopping the run. So it's definitely a more of a strength on strength situation here. I mean, this is the game. This is the kind of team that Georgia is built to beat, right? And I'm not like guaranteeing a win or anything or saying anything like that, but like, this is what we're built to stop, right? Like, what they're good at is what we are good at stopping. And what we had seen, through 12 games this year was that we were able to take away that strength of every other team all year long. Kentucky came in, leading rusher in the SEC, we shut them down. Every time we faced the leading rusher in the SEC, we were able to shut them down. So can we do that again here? Man, I certainly hope so. Right. I do. I mean, I think this is a good game. This is a good team. To get into the emotion of it a bit. I mean, they definitely, this year for them is a lot like 17 was for us, right? I mean, this is their first playoff appearance. They are riding sky high. They just got over there. They got the monkey off their back of Ohio State. So they're sky high, right? So they've got all the confidence in the world. But I think we've got the players. I mean, I think we've got the personnel to stop what they do. We just got to execute, and again, like no panicking and just stay the course. I don't know. That's kind of how I feel about it.
Yeah, we definitely match up pretty evenly with these guys across the board.
Yeah. And again, they don't have like the crazy quarterback. I don't know if you saw Josh Dogstats had a post today kind of comparing McNamara and Stetson. And I mean, they are pretty similar. Like, the numbers side by side, again, was pretty staggering. I think one thing he found was that McNamara is pretty good actually under duress. So when he's pressured, his QBR doesn't drop a ton. So I guess something to watch out for there. That's where, just like what we've seen, or it's not enough just to get to him, right? To pressure him, we gotta get him to the ground. So
It's funny. You look at the rushing efforts, the rushing stats for them versus us, and it's like, they've got almost 3,000 yards rushing and averaging 5.3 a carry. We've got 2,500 yards rushing and we're averaging 5.3 a carry. The thing that made me giggle was like, I'm like looking down the line, like what's throwing off, what's possibly throwing things off here? Well, we have Jordan Davis.
right.
Jordan Davis as a rushing attempt. We don't have nearly as many wide receivers in the running game as they do too. So that's also something that's bumping up their averages as you look across it. You'd have to kind of like do some funny math to like actually look at their what their running backs are actually averaging. So like if you looked at like the top running backs, for example. So Zamir White's averaging 5.3, James Cook is averaging 6.1, Kenny McIntosh is averaging 5.9. And then you get down into Kendall Milton, which I guess it's arguable on whether or not he's going to be playing in this game or not. I think that I heard.
It sounds like he's supposed to, or like he's available. I think he's available.
Okay.
My understanding, yeah.
So Haskins, their leading rusher, has almost 1,300 yards rushing. He only has 4.9 yards a carry. Corum, who's like their little speedster, is kind of like he's one of their speedster backs. He's averaging 6.7. So it's kind of like the Zamir White versus our James Cook. Is kind of how that in my mind kind of matches up. And then their next biggest rushing leader is a wide receiver.
Okay.
So like, anyway, I mean that's basically the two running backs there, Blake Corum and Haskins. Which Corum is definitely a handful from a speed perspective. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see. But given what you talked about, like our impact on opposing teams,
yeah.
I mean, you saw what happened with us versus Alabama. I mean, yes, Robinson was hurt, but every team that we've come up against, they haven't been able to run the ball. And Bryce Young just carved us up. And frankly, Bryce Young isn't suiting up tomorrow for Michigan. And
exactly.
I'm not scared. I'm not scared of the quarterbacks that they have. They definitely can do some damage. But if they get into a situation where they are in a shootout or they have to throw the ball to win the game, they definitely have the personnel. They have a quarterback they can certainly throw. I just don't know that they're going to be able to throw against our athletes.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I'm with you on that for sure. I had anything else on that, because I did have one special teams nugget, or a couple, kind of, actually. But
I'll let you go, but I think I picked up on something while I was watching the film on this guy. But go for it.
You on
special teams?
Yeah. So
I don't have anything else. I think the game's going to come down to our defensive line, our offensive line versus their offensive and defensive lines. I mean, if we can get push on both sides of the ball, I like our chances to win. That's ultimately what it's going to come down to, is how do the lines play, which, hashtag like, coach speak.
Right. Run the ball, win the last scrimmage. Don't turn the ball over.
Ultimately, it's going to come down to who scores the most.
Yeah. That's what I love. When people are like, well, what if you have to outscore them? I was like, well, don't you have to outscore everyone, like, to win every game? Anyways, but yeah, so they've got a really good kicking game. So both kicker and punter. So yeah, the field goal kicker definitely jumped out to me. You don't see the punter so much in highlight tapes. I mainly watch highlights, but so their kicker, perfect on extra points on the season, and he's 22 of 24 on field goals. He's got a long of 52. So he only kicked one. Those over 50 yards, and he made it. So good kicker.
But he missed two. He missed two in the 40 to 49 range, Jim.
He did. 3 of 5 in the 40 to 49 range. So, and then it sounds like they've got a pretty good punter as well. Again, I'm going off the guy that Graham had on. He said that they've got a very good punter, a lot of hang time and such. So, and then the only other thing is I don't 100% know. I was trying to do some research on if swirling winds could be a factor because we are in Miami and, you're dealing with stadium close to the water. So, I did see, I like Googled swirling winds, Miami, or wind, Hard Rock Stadium and stuff like that. The things that came up were like there was one of the recent Super Bowls that was played in that stadium. There was some talk heading into the game, like could the wind be a factor? But I haven't seen anything to specifically say it will be windy this week. So I don't know. Always something to watch out for when you're in those open air stadiums close to water. Just something to look for. So that was all that I had there.
Yep, it's
cool.
It's the weather is not going to be a huge factor here, right?
Yeah, no, it's gonna be beautiful. It sounds like Chamber of Commerce Day, on New Year's Eve. This is why you play these games in Florida, right? Because you get this beautiful weather this time of year. So
exactly.
All right, you wanna hit the listener questions?
Let's hit listener questions. But before we hit the listener questions, are we going to answer the listener questions we got last week too? Because I just want to make sure.
I actually don't have all of them down. Why don't we? Let's do that on Twitter. we can tweet back to them.
Okay.
Because I think some of them were actually a little bit similar. So I think we're good.
I know we didn't get Coach Trills. We didn't get Coach Trills over unders.
I know. Well, yeah. Last week he had Would You Rathers. They were actually pretty good.
Yeah, I know. Really That's what I'm saying. Like, do we need to answer some of them? Do we cherry pick?
Do you want me to pull them back up?
I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud. I just remember that we let everybody down by not recording last week.
Well, I had said that we would answer them on Twitter, so I meant to do that throughout the week, and I kind of forgot. Time got away from me, and we didn't do it.
Slacker.
I know. Why don't we just do that? Because I can't. I'd have to pull them all up. All right. First up, Jason Huggins at Hugdog18 on Twitter, featured in the Terry alumni newsletter email today. That was pretty cool. Fill in the blank. If blank happens in the first quarter, I'm going to feel really good about Georgia's chances of winning.
Man, this could go so many different ways.
Yeah.
John on Twitter had a good response. So I retweeted his question and said, "What say you, dogs?" Because I thought it was a really good question. I was like, I'm curious, like what would people say?
You outsourced your answer, which is a good call.
I outsourced my answer. So John at John_Michael_D. Which he has a little tilde on the end of his N, which I can only assume is for Acuna. He must be a Braves fan. His response to my request was the offense scores 30.
That is good. Yes.
So if the offense scores 30 in the first quarter, we like our chances to win. I definitely am going to go with that. And to his credit, I tagged Hug Dog in the response. I said amazing. I said, "How are we feeling about that, Hug Dog?" And he goes, "If we score 30 in the first quarter, I might start driving to Indy by halftime."
Oh, that's awesome. I was gonna say something, like before I saw anyone responding, my initial thought was just like, if Georgia establishes the run, like if we can actually run the ball in this game, I feel really good. But that's because I like to run the ball, and that's kind of how I think about things. So that was something I would add.
How do you define that, though? So how do you define that?
I'm going to put on my dog stats hat and say like that we have a good rushing success rate. Yeah. So it's not necessarily the yards, right? Again, it's all about, for me, the way I've started to look at all this stuff is like just the whole like staying on schedule, right? So.
I like the success rate answer. Obviously, the 30 points in the first quarter would be amazing.
Yes. Right.
So, kind of along the same lines as the 30 points thing, if we had 2 interceptions in the first quarter. Um, so, I'm going to go on the defensive side of things on
Okay.
this. Um, if we hold them to like less than 50 yards, total yards in the first quarter.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So like on the defensive side, if we can hold them to like less than 50 something yards, I mean I recognize that's probably insane, but like um, you know hold them under 75 yards total yards in the first
Mhm.
quarter. I
Yeah.
like our chances. I like our chances there as the game wears on.
Yeah. Yeah. For sure.
But yeah, no, yeah. The other things that I thought, like how generic, how much more generic could I get with something like this, is like, are we pushing around the lines? So like, is the
Yeah.
offensive
Getting a
line
push.
getting is offensive line getting a push visibly? Whether that matriculates into something like a success rate, but like I think we all can see. Are
Mhm.
we averaging? Are we averaging for? Are we hitting our season averages? Like, are we averaging
Mhm.
5.3 yards a rush
Mhm.
in the first
Yeah.
quarter? Are we shutting down their running game? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, and
That's
and again, this isn't even like something that you, this isn't a insert X happens, but like I think you're going to be able to tell pretty soon what the mindset of the team is like, right? Like they say, like don't let a team beat you twice, kind of thing, right? Like we're playing Michigan, and and if it sounds like from what we're hearing out of practice today that everyone's super dialed in, and that kind of stuff shows up pretty evidently at the beginning of the game. So I'll be watching for that too, as well, for sure. So okay, let's see. Next up is Zach SC Dog 864. Would y'all be happy if this game turned out to be a defensive slugfest like Clemson, with of course dogs on top? Um, I don't know if it's so much like happy is the right word, but like I would say I'm not going to be super surprised because again, like we've talked about, like I feel like they're like these teams are pretty dang similar, so it would not shock me. I don't think we're going to end up in as much of as much of a slugfest like Clemson. I mean, that was what 10-3. So I don't anticipate like a 10-3 game like that. I don't think it'll be so much like that, but I wouldn't be shocked though if this is a an old school what you used to think of a Big Ten SEC matchup, right? Wouldn't shock me to see that.
yeah. No, I mean it wouldn't shock me, but it would at the same time. But like, I just don't see either one of these offenses just sitting back and taking that.
Yeah,
Um, we also don't have a quarterback that's hurt
true.
on our side of the game,
That's
at
true.
least as far as we know.
Yep.
Um, the Yeah, no, I would definitely be upset if we were in a slugfest. Like, yeah, I would be upset.
Hmm. Interesting.
I don't want this. So if it's a slugfest, let's say, like, how do you define that? Is it a slugfest for
Yeah,
three
just if it's a
quarters?
defensive struggle.
Well, I mean, is it a defensive struggle for the first half and then we blow the doors off in the second half? Like, does that still count? Like, that's kind of
No,
what I'm going for here. So, like,
no, I think he's saying throughout
if
the
we're
entire
talking,
game, is a
yeah,
defensive struggle, which is what Clemson was, right? Like if it's like
just
that.
like Clemson, yeah.
Yeah.
No, if it's like Clemson, I'm going to be very irritated. I'm going to
Fair,
be
fair enough,
very, very irritated.
fair enough. Um, let's see. Next up, we've got Walt Dog NC. So he said he's South Beach bound. He said any updates on Georgia tailgates in the Orange Lot. So I have no updates. We can maybe retweet that and ask folks if there's anything going on tailgate wise. I haven't heard anything
Ah,
personally.
yeah, we should definitely retailgate.
So
Dang, dude, you're going down there early.
so we will we'll check on that for you.
Sounds like Walt Dog's got the party done.
Right, right, yeah, I know. Well, Doug, you tell us where the tailgate is.
Seriously.
So he did say, has Georgia ever played on a New Year's Eve night? I actually know the answer to this. Do you know?
It's got to be a Peach Bowl, right?
Yeah, yeah. So for sure, we
Peach
played at the
Bowl versus Virginia, was it? Or
yeah,
I can't
yeah.
remember.
So my
Okay.
freshman year, that one Kirby's last game as a Georgia player, actually, the that comeback
Mm,
win over Virginia. That Peach Bowl was New Year's Eve for sure.
there we
That was my
go.
freshman
Yep.
year, so I remember that.
Because for like the longest time, like that was like the only New Year's Eve game, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, yeah, it was, it was. And then
That's
they moved it around a bit, but yeah, it was on New Year's Eve for
correct.
several years. Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually one of the saddest like drawbacks for at least for Georgia people, because like that was a tradition that a lot of folks did on New Year's
Mm-hmm.
Eve. It was like, hey, we no matter who's playing, we're going to the Peach Bowl. You know what I mean?
Right,
So it's like
right.
I have a lot of friends that were really bummed when they got the college football playoff like threw a wrench in all of that. So yeah, I mean, it is a little frustrating because I think that once they did go to that change, the Peach Bowl actually like they didn't have a sellout for the first time in like I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
long it was. So anyway,
Yeah,
it is kind of a sad state of affairs, the Peach Bowl, but
yeah.
Peach Bowl rocks.
Well, I mean, they get to be a playoff semifinal now sometimes, so or they're in
Sometimes,
that rotation now. So that's at least good. But
but that
yeah,
was always a good matchup. It was
it
typically a
was it
pretty good
was
matchup.
yeah, because you would have like the third place ACC team against like the fifth or sixth SEC, and that's a good matchup, right? Like it was always a good game.
Was it the
I,
fifth or sixth? I thought it was like the number three ACC and then the number four
I'm
SEC or
exaggerating.
something
I'm
like.
exaggerating
Yeah.
what the gap was, but there was definitely a gap. It was definitely a higher ACC pecking order than SEC. But yeah, for sure.
Mhm.
Yeah, so I don't know. We could have played in other ones, but I know for sure that one was. So there's been at least one. And then he just said, hopefully popping bottles at the post game tailgate. Go dogs. So yeah, so we'll retweet that and see if anyone has any tailgate info for you, Wall Dog. Let's see, 51-7 GATA says, other than the Notre Dame the Notre Dame Sugar Bowl and the Oklahoma Rose Bowl, what is your favorite Georgia Bowl win? And then he adds a couple of his. He said the 1998 Outback and 2003 Sugar will always be two of my favorites. So I did like both of those as well. And for sure, '03 Sugar, I was at that game. Um, that was our first SEC, right after our first ever SEC championship game win as well. So that was a good one
Mhm.
for me. Uh, I liked I mean, the other one that jumps out to me is like the Blackout Hawaii Sugar Bowl.
I was just about to say mine for sure is Hawaii, but is the '03 Sugar Bowl, was that sweeter than a Cinnabon?
Yeah, same. Yeah, well, George said that after that was after the SEC championship. It wasn't
Okay,
at but yeah, because they said how sweet does it feel to be going to the Sugar Bowl or something like that. I think I don't know.
okay.
Yeah,
I
sweeter than
couldn't
Cinnabon.
remember. I couldn't
Yeah, but that was
remember.
that same season. Same season.
But yeah, the blackout Hawaii game, I remember that being like, oh man, I just remember like everybody was hyping it up, and I just remember it had to be like I would probably one of the few times that I felt like Alabama fans, like
Mm-hmm.
literally nobody thought we were going to win that game, and I thought that we were just going to absolutely destroy people. Like I remember being at work and people were telling me like, "Yeah, dude, they're going to pass all over you guys. It's going to be like the fun and gun or whatever the heck that thing was called. Run and shoot. Wasn't it run and shoot or something?
Yeah. Yeah.
Colt Brennan was going to throw all over us, and then it just ended up just being an absolute domination.
yeah. That one was awesome. Um, I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's about it. I mean, I don't know. I have enjoyed all the ones that I went to. Yeah, I've been to a couple of Peach Bowls as well that were good. So, '98 Peach Bowl,
I've
'06 Peach Bowl. Those are always fun. So,
I've actually let's see. So I guess I should not go to bowl games because the bowl games that I've been to, we've ended up losing. So I ventured to the Liberty Bowl that we lost to, what was it, UCF or whatever? I think it
oh
was
my gosh,
UCF.
yeah, yeah, that was
Yeah,
2010.
dude. Yeah, dude. I went to that game with a bunch of buddies. We road tripped it up there. We had a blast in Memphis, but like, yeah, it sucked.
Yeah. I had
That's,
I
that
I
sucks
had
so bad.
tickets. I had tickets to the 2001 Music City Bowl, in Rick's first year, and we lost that game. I didn't go. Kim actually ended up having to have. She had surgery on that day, and like so, like we had tickets and we didn't go because she had surgery. So, anyways, missed that one. So yeah,
The other game, the other game that I went to was it was the 2006 Sugar Bowl, right? This was the
Splenda Bowl?
Katrina. I think it was the
against West Virginia, the one in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I worked at a marketing firm back then, and so one of the media people got tickets for it through Sports Illustrated, and they were like, "Hey, I don't want to go to this game. Do you want to go to this game?" I was like, "Hell yeah, I want to go to this game."
Right. Seriously.
I got 50-yard line tickets. It's probably the best seats. It's probably the best seats I've ever had at like a major game like that. Like literally sitting on the 50-yard line and watched us completely piss away this game. I will never in my life forget that feeling, Jim.
Yeah, that was
sitting
brutal.
there watching them like punt, like they were in their punt formation, and I looked to the right of me, and the guy next to me is like, "Watch for the fake." And man, they faked it, and I remember being so pissed
because it was so obvious, dude. The punter was like lined up way too close to line of scrimmage. I will say, I actually had similar seats to that for the Rose Bowl. So my Rose Bowl experience, like that is hands down number one. Like I had like 50-yard line. I don't know. I was like between the 40s.
How did you get those seats?
It pays off to have great friends.
Fripp dog.
No, so a buddy of mine, neighbor of mine, is in the NASCAR world, and so he has all kinds of sports connections. So shout out to John. Also with John, he was able to get them for me through a connection. It was actually through ESPN. I actually had some ESPN tickets. So Stroud and I were at that game together. So that was awesome. I mean, that's hands down number one. I mean, that can't be topped as far as to date. So
for sure. I mean, even as a spectator like that, hands down, I'll never forget that night.
Yeah, it was amazing. It was amazing. All right, okay. So the man you outsourced your earlier question to, John Michael D. He has a question. Am I munsoning too hard about COVID protocols, or should I be munsoning even more about COVID protocols? I don't know. We've kind of gone back and forth on that, right? Because like you were kind of munsoning, and then
I was going to say
we were trying to kind of calm you down. Yeah, you go ahead. We were trying to calm you down, and then you got on board, and then you were like,
Exactly. So I was munching hardcore about this, but then they came out with the updated protocols, and then especially after today, John, if you haven't seen the updates from the CDC, it's like I think I tweeted out a fantastic GIF that I thought represented how everybody felt about COVID at this point.
Right. Yeah. Because I mean, I think they're only going to test if you have symptoms. That's kind of been the whole thing all year.
If you're vaccinated, right?
If you're vaccinated, right? Which we did see that this week, right? Like I think, this was from a player. I think
98% of the
said
team,
like 98 to 99% of the team. So yeah. So I mean, you never know, but I don't think it's worth the munsoning over it. There's nothing you can do about it. And then he did add, also, I don't care if we get a trophy by default or what any other fan base would have to say about it. What about y'all? That was the whole, they came out with the updated rules that basically said, there could be a COVID forfeit in the playoff. I mean, the way I posed that, because I think Ludikit had said something about it, and I kind of flipped it around and was like, okay, Georgia wins via a COVID forfeit. Do the 1980 jokes stop? And they wouldn't, obviously, but I don't know that I would care. So definitely don't want that to happen.
I would point them to the 2021 national championship T-shirt that I will inevitably wear for the next 365 days.
True. Fair enough.
If anybody says anything to me, I'll be like, "Hey, do you have one of these?"
Right. I have the T-shirt, so clearly it's real. All right. Tim Riley checks in, not via Twitter, via text. So he said, true or false, the Georgia defense holds Michigan to less than 150 rushing yards. I'm going to go true.
Mhm.
I'm going to go true.
So they're averaging 224, call it 224 yards a game.
That is a lot.
So I don't know. I think they're going to go over that. A better line for me would have been like 175.
Okay, that's fair. So that he says, what's the breaking point on rush yards for Georgia to allow but still win?
If we give up 200, if we give up more than 200 yards, we lose this game.
Okay. And then he said, and we've abided by this. And then also, and most importantly, what bourbon is being drank tonight while recording? He said, you usually reveal that in the beginning, but make it an end of show reveal. So we're later. So what do you got tonight?
We actually did this on accident because I remember actually thinking about this earlier. I was like, oh shoot, we didn't do the pop. We didn't do the bottle pop. So without further ado.
There you
go. I reached for I was going to reach for the E.H. Taylor because it's like a special week, right? Mm. But I noticed that it was yellow on the bottle label. So I said, F that.
Sorry, Carter.
So I reached for the black label foolproof because we're gonna bring all the heat this week.
I like it. I couldn't do a bottle pop because of what I'm drinking. So I've got the Weller Special Reserve.
It's the screw top.
It's a screw top. So no sound effects for me tonight. But so shout out Fripp Dog and my mom. She's not, shout out Fripp Dog and Panda. This is one of their Christmas presents they gave to me. So it's excellent.
That's a great Christmas present. I also gave one to my brother-in-law, by the way.
Excellent. Well done.
Yes. It's a good season to give Weller away, especially to those that can't get it.
Right, for sure. Yeah, I've still yet to see it in the store, so it was much appreciated.
That's actually really sad. It makes me very sad for the North Carolina bourbon drinkers of the world, which also just goes to point out that you guys just need to get down to Fort Mill.
I know. I was down there the other day, close to there, and I was going to go, and I couldn't make it work. So I'll get down there eventually.
How close is it to Pineville? Sorry, sidebar.
Yeah, it's relatively close. I was thinking. It's.
Do we need to make a My God a podcast visit?
We might actually, because isn't there like a Saturday? His game is at like 8:30, and then the next game's at like 4, right?
Correct. There's a huge gap.
There's plenty of time to go there in between. Plenty of time.
So what we could do is we could go down to the liquor store and then tailgate for the next game.
Oh yeah, that's a great idea. So Carter has some soccer games upcoming in Charlotte in a couple of weeks, and so I let my kids know, and so we're gonna come down there and watch a bit. So that'll be
fun. We're gonna be in the Charlotte. I need to message Greg and see if he wants to get together. But yeah, so we'll be in Charlotte. We're gonna be in Charlotte in January for.
Nice.
I think didn't you tell me that was? I haven't even looked. Isn't that the weekend before the national championship?
Yeah, it's that Saturday and Sunday before the national championship, which is on Monday.
Yeah. It's not boding well for my attendance, but it is what it is.
All right, let's see here. Hampton Huggins, Hambone. Here, what's y'all's plan for the game? Go on or watch from home? And he said, I'm super excited to ring in the new year in Athens. So,
ooh, is he in Athens?
I think not full time. I don't believe, from what I know from afar on the socials. I don't think so. So neither of us are going to the game. Same thing. We will be watching from home. I think so with the New Year's Eve thing, a little weird. So I think our daughters are both going to have a friend over for New Year's stuff, just hanging out. And then we're just going to watch. We're going to watch on TV and do all the foods and eats during the game. So how about you? I think, well, you said that earlier, right? So you guys are just going to chill at home and watch from home too.
Yeah, unfortunately, it looks like it's going to rain Friday night,
Mm.
um, which puts a damper. Although I have a setup now where I can do it undercover. Um, my plan was to watch with some friends and have my brother-in-law over. We are going to drink a lot of Weller and just have a good time. Um, but with the COVID situation, I'm not sure where that's going to land. We should be we should be out of the protocols by that point. Um, However, I don't know how they're going to feel about coming over, but I was going to have some people over and just watch the game and do that here. But it looks like it's about a 70% chance of rain Friday
Mm.
night.
Gotcha.
So I was going to have a fire outside and put the game on outside, because it's been, the reason I say that is because it's been, I don't know what the weather's like in North Carolina right now, but like it's been like 70 plus degrees here
Yeah,
in
it's the same
Marietta.
here. Like, if you ever wonder, like, Charlotte is exactly the same as Atlanta. So
Got
it's
it.
the exact same climate. So yeah, it's been the
Yeah.
same. But same thing. Yeah, rain's coming later this week here too. So
It's been like gross. It's been just like gross hot. Like this doesn't feel like Christmas to me.
I like couldn't sleep last night. Because I should have turned the air conditioning back on. Like, I woke up in the middle of the night like burning up. It was hot, and like I didn't get up and turn the air conditioning on, and I should have, because I did not sleep well.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those types of winters right now. But then we get punched in the face. We're gonna get punched in the face when the kids go back to school. It's gonna be like in the 20, like the high on Monday the 3rd is like 45 degrees.
Right. Seriously, yeah. It makes no sense. It makes no sense.
Hate everything.
Okay. That was it. Other than, we skipped the other questions. So there was one that I did feel like I wanted to explain a little bit, because this was actually from 2 shows ago. So when Justin Bray asked
Yeah.
if there was a dance off of Georgia podcast, who would win? So I can't do what I was going to do. So I'll just talk about what I was going to do. I had this like whole thing. It was way too involved. But I had the soundboard. I had like a specific song that was going to be playing. So, but I'll just go through my general gist of it. It was, first, because he said paint a picture with your words. So I was getting way too elaborate. But in general, first thing is like, where is this dance off going to be? Right? Like, you got to pick the location. And so the thing I had said was like, you can't be at, say, like one of Waiting Since Last Saturday's partner places, right? Because then they've got home field advantage. So it's got to be somewhere else. So I had thought like Creature Comforts. I felt like Creature Comforts was neutral-ish, although I believe Justin used to work there. But we know Matt Stevens, like, so we're good. So I feel like you hold it there, and then so I was gonna have this whole like story about you ending up at Creature Comforts and all these things, and then like you kind of walk in, because to me, like when I think of this thing, like all I can think of is like the I know it's not a dance off, but like Zoolander, like the walk off, like
Is this like
it's
West
kind of
Side
like
Story?
that, right? Like it's kind of like the walk off in Zoolander. But I had this thing where like you're gonna see like Nathan was dancing like really well, and you're like, God, how is Nathan dancing so well? And it's because like, and this is where it gets a little fictional. It's like Justin was over off the side like playing Magic the Gathering cards. They were like somehow making Nathan be able to use the powers from their card game, and it like makes him a good dancer. So that was kind of where I was going to weave in.
Nice. I feel like I feel like Nathan would bust a nice greedy out there.
Right. So the funny thing was when I said like that we weren't going to answer it that one time, Justin was like, if you guys show up at our live recording and challenge us to a dance off, I'm going to be pissed. But because they had one in Athens recently, so we were obviously we were unable to attend that. So
that would have been funny.
I don't know. Funny. I'm not going to say that we would win it, because like I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm a good dancer. I'm not sure. Actually, my story was going to end with like there was going to be appearances from various people. Like Josh and Graham were going to be there. Dog Sports Live was going to be in the house, and like Josh was going to be like throwing out some statistics on why someone would win. But ultimately, I actually had 100 Sanford was going to win. And then, like, after it was all over, Graham was going to tell us about how he had been predicting it since the summer. So that was kind of my.
The West Coast boys coming clean up.
That was basically my story. So there's the short version. So hopefully I did that some sort of justice. Anyway,
Nice.
That was 2 episodes ago. We got that question. Okay.
I'm just saying I like our chances.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't totally rule us out. Like, you know, we probably lost in the semifinals or something. You never know.
We've been disrespected all season, Jim.
That is true. That is true. Oh my gosh, too good. All right. Like I said, no soundboard, but it is time for Coach Trillbills. We've got Coach Trillbills. Good sound effects. Okay. Over under. UGA rushing yards 175. That is a lot. This is where, because, you know, I'm always like, I want 200 or whatever. I'm going to say push.
Or 200. Wait, what was the line?
175.
So we're averaging 195 yards a game.
Over. Thank you for saving me. That's what I wanted to say.
So you wanted to go over?
Yeah, I just changed my mind. Over.
So I'm gonna go over. I'm gonna go over as well.
Okay.
I actually I don't want to poor mouth them, but I don't think that they're as good defensively as their numbers say.
Okay.
You know what I mean? When they're playing in the Big Ten, they lost to the best team that they played all year long. They lost to the best defense. They lost to the best defense that they played all year long.
Sure. Okay. In Michigan State. Yeah.
And
yeah, true. And Michigan State they ran pretty wild on them.
Ohio State was just a barn burner. The Iowa game, I feel like I don't know that Iowa is as good as their ranking was. They were in that game for the first half. If they hadn't just wet the bed, Iowa literally wet the bed. They had so many opportunities to run that game even.
Right. All right. Over under Georgia passing yards 225, which again I think is a pretty good number. Over. Okay, I'll go over.
That's my rapid fire instinct without looking. What was our season average for passing?
Right. Georgia rushing touchdowns 2.5. Over under.
Under.
Yeah, I'll go under as well, and then same number for passing touchdowns for Georgia. Over under 2.5.
Dang it!
It's tough. I feel like it's a good number, right?
I should have gone over on rushing.
You're gonna go under here. Well, they don't have to match up to your final score prediction.
Yeah, seriously.
That's okay.
Oh man, I'm gonna. I gotta go. It feels like an under. It feels like an under situation, but I don't know. You said 2.5.
Yeah, but do you think about it? I could. I'm gonna
go over. I'm gonna go over.
Yeah, because this is where you could see you get one to Brock, you get a Law Firm touchdown, and you get maybe a Pickens or a Cook, right? I could definitely see over here.
Yeah,
I could see a path to it.
I think over is pretty good.
Let's see, Georgia sacks over under 3.5. Georgia sacks.
Oh, I gotta go under.
Yeah, me too. That's a lot. I feel like that's a lot.
That's a lot. The number one sack guy in the country only had 3 against a couple of pretty good teams. So I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't see us getting to him that many. I don't see us getting to him that many times.
Right. Agreed. Michigan turnovers 1.5. Which, although I could read this either way.
Oh no!
It says
don't you put that evil on me, Ricky Bobby?
Turnovers 1/5, 1.5. So I'm saying, does that mean that they turned the ball over 1.5 times? or that we.
I'm
turn
gonna
the ball
go.
over.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with he's thinking that they are gonna turn the ball over 2.5 times
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah.
or
One
one
and a
and a
half.
half times.
Yeah. One and a half.
One and a
Agreed.
half. Okay. They're gonna turn the ball over 1.5 times. I'm gonna go under.
Me too. I think we may get one, but I think two is asking
Yeah.
a lot.
Yeah. I definitely could see a fumble or an interception, but I don't know that two's in the cards. I
Mm-hmm.
will say that if we have a couple of turnovers in this game, like it's either a blowout or it's going to be close.
Mm-hmm. Right. I mean, these are kind of your
talk
options.
about talk about
Anyway.
talk about talk about hedging my bets.
All right. Let's see.
I don't know, man.
Michigan sacks over under 3.5. Man, I hope for the under. I'm going to say under too because I just think, and I'm not saying that it's going to be like sack free. I think we already talked about that. Like he's going to get some, but I'd like to hold them under 3.5. I think we can.
We're talking total sacks.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Alabama had 3 sacks against us.
Okay.
So that would be them having more sacks than Alabama did
Alabama
against
did.
us.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening.
Yeah. Agreed. Okay. Georgia fan takeover in the stadium at 55%. This is an interesting one because like Michigan is so sky high. Like our fan bases are in a very different state of mind right now. Like Georgia fans are all like, the sky is falling for some reason, even though we're in the playoff. And Michigan is like, this is like team of destiny and all that kind of stuff. So,
Right.
but I don't think it'll be like a crazy Michigan takeover or anything. Cause I know it seems to me like the folks that I keep up with, like that always go to bowls are still going. And Georgia just travels really well in general. So, I actually think it's going to be pretty close. So I don't think it'll be a Georgia takeover so much. 55 is probably pretty good number. I think it'll be a pretty even split. Like I think it's going to be pretty even. I think it'll probably be more like 50-50 kind of deal.
So yeah, I mean, I would say it's going to be closer to 50-50 for sure. Again, I do think that Michigan is much more excited about this game than we are. But I've got some diehard Michigan fans that I know that are not going to this game too. So
right.
I've been monitoring the prices for the tickets. Just for my own curiosity, because there was like a sliver of hope that I might be able to go to this game, but Carter's soccer schedule the COVID situation threw a wrench into this overall.
Yeah.
But the game the get-in price for this game when it first was announced was like $800 aftermarket, right? So like it was $800 to get in the door when this thing was announced. But as time has worn on, with COVID and all that stuff going on, like the game price ticket, the get-in price now is like $240. Like,
yeah.
I mean, talk about prices dropping.
Right.
I'm curious to see if it's going to go down even more, but like it's gone down a pretty substantial amount. And these are not like bad seats either. Like some of these are like, I mean, obviously they're in the upper levels, but like, I don't know. I'm actually wondering if we're going to see empty seats is actually something that I was thinking.
Interesting. It's possible. And then last one, or actually, so two more. More obnoxious Harbaugh, John or Jim, which just made me realize that the Harbaugh brothers have the same names as you and I.
That's funny.
But I feel like the answer is Jim Harbaugh because I feel like John Harbaugh is just kind of like, I don't know, he seems kind of like a more neutral, like he just kind of is there to me. He doesn't seem to be as like outgoing or whatever. And maybe it's just because I don't follow the NFL and the Baltimore Ravens as closely, but I don't feel like he's as big of a personality as Jim Harbaugh. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, Jim's a big weenie. He is in my opinion, he's the Dan Mullen of the Big Ten, but that's just my opinion. I think he's a giant clown, and part of that is due to you're familiar with bad lip reading, the bad lip reading crew.
Yes.
So one of the first videos that I ever saw from them making those videos of the NFL was when Jim Harbaugh was the coach he was a coach at the 49ers, I think, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
They had a bad lip reading thing of him doing this stuff, and the voice that they used for it was like, "I want it now. I want
Yeah.
cake now."
I actually
And
remember
like
that.
the voice that he had with that, and the way that he was doing it, like every time I see him, every time I think about him, like that's what I think about is the bad lip reading of him whining.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I totally remember that too. That's funny.
Yeah.
Um, and then he's got Orange Bowl MVP. He's got the odds-on favorite is Nakobe Dean.
Ooh.
I think
Is
he's.
that the case?
I,
Is that a betting line right now?
I don't know. I know that's Coach Showbill's pick. You know, these are his over-unders.
Oh, sorry. I forgot. Sorry, coach. Got sidetracked. Got sidetracked thinking about Jim Harbaugh and his whining.
So you know, I mean, I think Dean's a good one. There's so many guys in the defense that it could be.
I
You know, I
don't
can
think that
see.
Dean is going to be the MVP.
I could, you know, you could see a Brock Bowers. I could see, heck, you could see beat Stetson. Um, could see Jordan Davis. Those are some other names that come to mind for me.
My kind of pick for highest odds would probably be Brock Bowers.
Yeah.
I mean, I think Bowers would probably be the biggest. Because here's the thing, like, it's either going to be like a quarterback or if we're winning when we're winning this game, right? So like Stetson obviously is probably going to have a good game because I feel like that
Mm-hmm.
both teams are going to cancel each other's running games out, in my opinion,
Yeah.
on both sides. Like it's going to be a tough. Like both quarterbacks are going to have to win the game. So if that's the case, who's his favorite receiver on our side, which is Brock Bowers? So in a win, you like Brock Bowers as the odds-on MVP, unless
Right.
for some reason like Pickens decides to show up 100% healthy or whatever and
Mm-hmm.
like shows out. But
True.
I mean, so far that doesn't seem to be like, I don't know, that doesn't seem to be a solid bet.
Yep. Yep. I agree with that. All right. Well, let's do our final game predictions. So the line is Georgia favored by 7.5. Um, over under is 45. It looks like it's 45. It was 45.5 that has dropped. um, from what I'm seeing.
The over under dropped.
It was 45.5 earlier today when I was looking, but right now it's 45. So it
Huh.
dropped by half of a point, which is interesting. Or,
That is
well, I guess it's
interesting.
not super interesting. Um,
I mean,
so that would
it's
give.
interesting because that means that Vegas is like too many people are betting the under, right? Is that how it works?
I have no idea.
I
It
have
may
no
say
idea.
both. So I've got implied score would be like Georgia, basically like 27 to 18 or 26 to 19, whatever if you use whole numbers, something like that.
UGA 26, Michigan
Mm-hmm.
18.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, right. Or like 27 to
That's
19 or whatever, you know, somewhere in that range.
that's actually jiving with what I was thinking.
Yeah, so here's the crazy thing is like if you look at the OddsShark predicted score, they've got Georgia 40.9 to Michigan 26.8. So they've got a Georgia win, a Georgia cover, and the over. Um, that feels like really high scoring to me for both teams. So I don't see that in the cards. I'm with you. I was more in line of the more like what the implied score is like. Um, and again, like we've talked about, right? Like I mean, to me, like these teams are so similar. Yeah, the one thing, like if you look at their big explosion against Ohio State, and like, but their defense slowing down Ohio State, like it's not going to be snowing in this game, right? Like I feel like that was a big factor, especially with the way Ohio State plays. So you know, weather's not going to come into play here at all. So I can go first. I've got a Georgia win, but much lower scoring. I'm thinking it's going to be something like 24 to 14. That's what I've got. So it's still a cover. It's a cover in the under.
Good Lord.
It's a 10 point victory.
but that's also so it's a 10-point victory, but that's also so Michigan is averaging not to like question your manhood or anything here.
I don't mind being questioned.
So Michigan's averaging 38 points, 30 call it 38 points a game. So that's a
Yeah.
huge offset. So here's my thought. And I haven't seen John's been tracking this. I should give him hell for this, but John's been tracking this all season long. I haven't seen the updated graph that he put together of how UGA is impacting folks after the SEC championship game.
Yeah.
Call it, I'm ballparking it at like a 20 point roughly,
Like the whole impact thing or whatever.
impact on the opponent's scores, average scoring. So if you did that, take 20 points off. I'm trying to use nice round numbers. So if you took 20 points off that puts you at like 17, 18 points.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where I was thinking. Like when I was originally thinking about this was like a 17, like a 26-17 kind of victory.
Mm-hmm.
So not too far off of yours, but like, I don't know. 14 just sounded like a lot lower.
I love how you're like, that's so low. I will now predict 3 more points than you did.
I don't know, man. I mean, I figure. So part of that is like that means that we're not predicting any field goal. You're not predicting any field goals from their perfect field goal kicker.
That's a good point. That's probably the biggest. That's definitely a flaw there. If I'm wrong, there's no sweat off that.
Screw it.
So what were you going with? You're going with 26-17.
Yeah, I was leaning more towards 18, but 17 I guess feels more round or whatever. 26, 17. Yeah.
And 26 is your number for Georgia?
Yeah.
It's an interesting number.
27.
Yeah. Okay.
Call it 27, Jim.
We're in the ballpark. And then, so that would be, so let's see. Mine's definitely an under. So you're thinking under of 45 points?
I was told there would be no maths, but
you're at 43 right now. So
43. Yeah. So under. So the over under is 40. What was it?
45.
45. Yeah.
See,
man, 80% are predicting an over here. Man, I don't know. Yeah. I definitely think that this is going to be more of a so in my mind, when we talk about like a defensive like battle or whatever, like the way that these two teams have played throughout the year, and like talking about like Clemson game as an example of defensive battle, we don't really have anything to really suggest that Georgia's ever going to play like that again because JT Daniels isn't the quarterback. He's not hurt. Like Stetson's not hurt, etc. So like it's almost like Clemson's almost a throwaway at this point. But everything that we've seen since then suggests that we should be able to move the ball. I mean, we moved the ball pretty effectively against Alabama, with the exception of like some of the turnovers and stuff like that. And God, like, I hope we win the coin toss.
Right? Yeah, seriously. I know, right?
Win the coin toss. Can we win the coin toss and defer? Because if that happened in the SEC championship game, then like it might end up in a different game. So like, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean. Yeah,
it should be closer. It should be closer. It should be closer, in my opinion. But whatever.
Yeah, I was pretty shocked when I looked on OddsShark and saw that that's what they were predicting. That big of a, that's a lot of points. They get 41-27. That's a pretty high scoring game. I mean, who knows, right? That's the other thing too. I mean, like these teams haven't played in 3 weeks. Like, don't
remind me, Jim.
But like to me that. I feel like that tends to lead towards lower scoring, and but then again, we had the Rose Bowl, like with Oklahoma, but again, Michigan's not Oklahoma. Like that's what Oklahoma did. They had the high-powered offense. I feel like this is going to be a slobber knocker. I could be way off, but we will see. So
it was 27. It was 2017, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. January 1st, 2018. I mean that game was 56 to 49 or whatever, or 54 to 48. I think. Is
I
what
don't know,
the game
Jim. It
was.
was the most memorable bowl game in your
I got it right. It's 54-48 because it was tied 48.
54-48.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. Like to me, like I know so many people were so down after they lost to Alabama, but the reality is, we're here, we made it. The goal, everything's still in front of us, and it kind of comes back to what we've been saying all year. I mean, you're either elite or you're not. So let's go out there and let's be elite.
I heard so many, like I heard a CBS credentialed media member talking about how Kirby sandbagged the SEC championship, like totally feeding into our conspiracy theories.
I love it.
literally said. Although I will say, Oklahoma points per game in that year, that 2018 year, 38. Which is basically right in line with what UGA and Michigan have been. So are we in store for another shootout?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, maybe we've got this all wrong. Yeah, who knows?
I don't know, man. I just don't see it happening. I don't see it happening. Yeah. But then again, I didn't see like what happened against Alabama happening. But like, I don't know, man. If Stetson doesn't turn the ball over, it would not shock me to see us blow them out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it could happen. Whew, it's gonna be fun though. It's gonna be fun. We'll be locked in. We'll be watching Friday night. Okay, so here's a crazy one to me. Have you looked at the OddsShark stuff for the other semifinal for Alabama and Cincinnati?
Wasn't it? Wait, I know the line is like 14 points or something.
The line is 13.5, but their predicted score is Alabama 37.4, Cincinnati 35.8. They've got it as a 2-point game.
What?
Yep. That's the OddsShark predicted score for that game. I was shocked.
Wow.
I was shocked by that. Which I will say, though, like I was kind of going down that path, and I had been telling you that I thought Cincinnati could win. I will say that the fact that Will Anderson is coming out and with all this, like they're disrespecting us or we're being disrespected talk still, like if they've convinced themselves of that, then that kind of takes it away from me a little bit. Because my thought was kind of they might be eating the fatal rat poison, as Saban calls it. But I don't know. They probably figured out a way to ward it off.
No, I mean obviously they have. They've been disrespected all season.
Exactly.
But then you also got the fact that Cincinnati just did the kiss of death. They're going full blackout.
I did think about that. I was thinking about that though after we made fun of them. I think that's like fans wear black. I doubt the team is going to wear black. I don't think they can do a blackout because Bama's going to be wearing crimson. That's too close.
Are they?
So they're the home team. They're the number 1 seed. So Cincinnati doesn't get to pick their uniform. So unless they're going to wear, Bama's going to wear crimson and Cincinnati's going to wear black. I doubt that. I think that would be too close. I would assume Cincinnati will be in white.
If Bama wore Clemson and white pants and Cincinnati wore all black, you don't think that's different enough?
I don't think they'd both wear dark. I doubt it. I think Cincinnati will be wearing white jerseys. My prediction.
Uniform Twitter.
They didn't say that the team was wearing black. They said, "Hey, fans wear black." So I don't know. Who knows? We'll see.
I'm guessing they want to be able to see the difference between, because if they were red, then they would probably blend in with the crimson.
Exactly.
Is that the thinking?
That's what I think that's all about.
Okay.
Which on the uniform talk, by the way, we are in white, by the way, because Michigan is home. So Michigan will be in their blues and we'll be in our white jerseys and silver breeches.
The last time these two teams played, Jim, Michigan wore blue and we wore red.
Yes. But we've already seen the leaked. Hunter tweeted out the picture.
I know.
White jerseys. We'll be in white.
One can only hope, Jim.
Cool. All right. Well, this was fun. Got back into it, and I don't know. Who knows? We may be way off here, but
we may be completely off. We could be just in store for just Stetson just throwing the ball all over the place. Or
Right.
is it going to be JT throwing the ball all over the place? I
Right.
heard somebody.
Yeah, seriously.
I heard somebody say. I can't remember what analyst it was. I think it was one that you sent me. One of the videos that you sent me talking about this was that they thought that it would be a Major League Baseball playoff situation where if at the first sign of distress your pitcher has problems, it's going to be like playoff Major League Baseball where you are going to immediately get yanked.
I just don't. I don't see it. I'm standing
There's
by.
a lot more at stake. There's a lot more at stake this game, Jim.
I know. I'm saying right now, I'll be shocked if JT steps on the field. I'll be shocked. So
You'll be shocked if he throws a single pass.
Well,
or if he steps on the field.
Steps on the field, unless there's an injury.
What if he's handing the ball off in garbage time?
Well, okay, come on. I'll be shocked if he takes a meaningful snap. How about that? Is that fair?
Throws the ball. If he throws the ball.
Yeah, I'd be shocked.
Yeah, that's probably more accurate. I could see that.
Yeah. After what I've seen in 12 games, or over 13 games, that's my prediction.
I tend to agree with you.
Yeah. The whole thing to me comes down to like, we saw one team for 12 games and we saw another team in the 13th, right? So assume that was the outlier. Right?
Yeah, man. I'm hoping that they're dialed in. I mean, we talked about this on the text thread about, the defensive side. As long as they I don't know, for whatever reason, it seemed like that they just weren't themselves. I'm hoping that Dan Lanning and Will Muschamp and Glenn Schumann, I hope they have those boys dialed in on that side of the ball, because if we have busted coverages all over the place, like that's, talking about going back to, the first quarter conversation, like if we have busted coverages in the first quarter, like, holy crap, I'm going to lose my mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Anyway,
well, let's end on a positive note. We're not going to see that. We're going to see 30 points scored in the first quarter.
We're going to see 30 points in the first quarter. Love it. Love the energy. Love the energy, John Michael.
Awesome. Cool. All right, man. Well, this was fun. And we'll be back to recap it. And hopefully be talking about, gearing up for the final. So
absolutely. We'll see you next year, guys.
Nice.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs.